great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks so much for joining us in the studio for this fantastic Friday afternoon. Excellent company of MLA, Mr. Bernie Bush. We take your calls and invite you to share with us. So please, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email Talk Today at candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And you had a chance yesterday to listen in to the panel discussion. Mr. Art Connor was doing an excellent job facilitating the constitutional discussions. And as I listened to his assembled panel, MLA Bernie Bush joins us. People like, Honorable Mayor Lawrence in the studio, Dr. Steve, Mr. Gilbert and the like. Well, we got a lot of expertise and experience in our country. Just need to continue to tap into that so we can benefit from their counsel and wisdom.
Yes, for too long it's been the mentality in this country that we have to go outside for everything. Mm-hmm. And this is what has the unrest out there as it is now. You know what they told us. You have to go get your education. Mm-hmm. Now we have hundreds of young people who are well qualified and want work, and now they're telling them you have to have experience. Those of us before who never had the degrees but had the experience, they told us we had to get degrees. So, but that constitutional discussion was a perfect example. We don't need to go outside for anything, and this is what was so disappointing to hear, that constitutional changes coming again, or trying to bring them, when there's been no public consultation. That's very disturbing, very upsetting. And I guess at the next sitting of the House we'll hear more about it, why it was done that way or what the reason is. But
I want to ask you to speak out of school, as it were, right? But what you just shared, we've hearing that constantly in relation to constitutional changes. Now, maybe because of the celebrations this last few weeks, maybe specifically about the discussion yesterday morning and again in the afternoon and the talk today, as well as the business buzz slots. Number of people in a short time since have reached out to me and said, well, they've been hearing this. Not just changes in the names as to how we refer to the parliamentarians, or changes in different things, or even the expected independence of the Legislative Assembly. But as an MLA, just informally, any briefing, anything at all to say, listen, hey, this is what we're looking at?
No, not for myself. You must understand, just like the Honorable Roy McTaggart clarified in the House very clearly the other day, and it was amusing. He picked a moment when I was out talking with the doctors from Shetty, why all of a sudden they were told they could not operate, do any emergency surgeries or anything. And to find out, say it was a government, it was all on the government side, nothing to do on the Shetty side. And I was out trying to get to the bottom of that, because I had someone who had to have a surgery, and they specifically wanted the head doctor, Dr. Benoit, to do the surgery, and he was not allowed to because of some. At the end of the day, my investigation showed me it was some simple typographical thing, and after the typographical mistake by some staff, then common sense wasn't used at all either. Because when a law clearly states that they should be given a 2-year license, then you're allowed to renew for 2 terms after that, which would take it to 6. if you gave, when I'm doing up the first license, the law says 2 years. If I wrote 1 year, that's my fault.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the doctor's fault. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it came down to. And they went through all kind of, had to take it to legal drafting and all kind of on just the typical red tape. But you must understand there are certain people in the health services that seems to have a very hard spot for Health City.
No,
and they will, any chance they have to slow them up or hold them down or whatever, it will happen.
All right, I'll leave it to you because and I want to go back to this notion. I wrote the word down on rest because you used that earlier. It's something you've been speaking of for decades now. But before I go back to that, when you say health services, I leave it to you to speak as you are a member of our Legislative Assembly. If you can't have a voice and we can't listen to it, then who else will? You talking public sector and private sector?
No. I'm just talking, when I said this health issue that we just had,
yeah,
was just at Health City.
Right. But when you say someone in health service, when you say use the term health services.
Oh, no, the administrative side of it, the ministry.
The ministry.
So, the ministry.
Okay, I just want to be clear because.
It's not the staff at HSA,
yeah.
And especially my emergency room staff.
Yeah.
They're the best in the world as far as I'm concerned, the emergency room at the HSA.
Something that I hope I'm not mistaken, and forgive me, and certainly correct me if I misunderstood or misspeak, but I gathered from your perspective over the years, and especially since you're an MLA, that this notion of having a strong, robust health system is important to our country. The educational opportunities, but the safety and security of our own people, as well as the opportunity to attract, people who want to come and live and invest there. They want to know they have a good system.
I've said over and over, the foundation for a successful country, good education system, which ours has failed, a good health system, which I'm hoping we'll soon start to see improvement, the knowledge of God, and how we take care of our elderly and our children. Once we have those things in place, everything else will fall in place. But education is of major importance. And a lot of people say, we don't hear you enough. Because I'm getting ready that when I start to come back on, I am out to show that there's been a systematic systematically, Caymanians have been shortchanged, fought down, and not given chances in the education system. I've gotten people to finally talk to me. But when you have someone saying, listen, I'm only getting $398 a month in my pension, and I'm afraid that they'll do something, they'll affect my pension. And no matter how much you tell them they can't do your pension or anything, it's your duty to speak out. It's like we just had a similar problem at West Bay Primary. Some things went on, and some teachers stood by and knew it wasn't right and said nothing. And far as I'm concerned, because certain people are gone, that's not the end of it. Those that saw wrong and did not say wrong, they should go as well.
So that failure to do something,
especially in the education system, and everybody knows. And I am convinced. People like to talk about the conspiracy theories. I am convinced now more than ever that it comes from way, way, way up top. It starts in another country. Because the people that we have allowed to come into our education system, and then for them to stay there for so long, and there was one particular one, and I will say this much. If I owned a bakery, and the baker did that much wrong, he'd have been fired a long time. Because they were supposed to do a curriculum that was designed for Cayman. They were caught red-handed. It was cut and paste. Because there was a couple of paragraphs where they forgot to take out the UK. And I have said this over and over. This cannot fall at the feet of the present minister. She inherited this. It cannot fall at the steps of the president, acting chief officer. She inherited this. Now, what they will do with it, I know the minister's already started. One of the greatest things that's ever been done, and she chose the right person, because they could have done this education council thing and chose the wrong person. but you chose Dan Scott. Anyone who's worked for him or dealt with him knows accountability. Accountability. Now everybody, I don't know how he's going to do it, but I know that given enough time, every teacher will be accountable. But the problem that's been going along is only the teachers that have been being pressured. What about the people above the preachers, above the teachers? What about the people in the education department? What about the people in the ministry? And that's where a lot of the blame lied, because they just kept, and there's a very nasty habit in the civil service. And I'm hoping with the deputy governor saying that he is going to make it the best professional one in the world is good. But there's one habit that after talking to a lot of people, you can see it. If something goes wrong, right away, what they do is circle the wagons and try to hush it down or quiet, instead of saying, yes, Sterling Dwayne was wrong, and we're going to rectify what he did, and we will deal with him accordingly. Nothing, but it's done, dealing with people accordingly is only done to Caymanians. But if you're on a contract, or you from a certain country, or have a certain amount of pigment, don't have enough pigmentation in your skin, you can get away with murder. And these are the things when I said that I was doing my research. One of the reasons why you saw me start that electrical school was because I heard the young people saying, boy, they can't bother. It's hard for them to get town. They don't have no money to pay for it. The time would be thing because they're still trying. So Burns Rankin, being a master electrician, he had campaigned on a vocational school as well. We started last year. It ran from June until December. In January, we had 12 young people. 12 people started, 11 finished. And that was the first stage. We're starting the second stage of that electrical school next Monday.
That's the 8th?
That's the 8th. At the heritage site at West Bay, right next to the Bushfield, at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. That class is open to all Caymanians.
Just find your way there.
Find your way there. I'm supplying all the books. I've got everything there. All you have to do is show up. And those who did not attend last year and want to start, once you come Monday night and register, we're going to do the second class for the new set of beginners. We're not turning back anyone. And Burns Rankin is doing this free. He's not charging me anything. The class was a success. We're hoping we see a few more women this time, because being able to help yourself with something simple as maybe noticing that your cord is shorting out, or has a frayed cord, that you can slice it, patch it, and do it yourself, that you don't cause a fire in your house. But the things that I'm finding on the street made me realize more what pressure Caymanians and what people are saying on the street. As we all know, it's been said publicly, left, right, and center. The minimum wage is one of the biggest jokes we've ever seen in our life. That has to be addressed, and addressed quickly. And this follows say about things will happen. In other places where they put up the minimum wage, the economy boomed. But what happened in Cayman is we have a bunch of greedy people who only thinks about their profit margin. And it's like what one man who I know who has a company treats his staff good. He says, I set myself a profit margin of so much. If I meet that profit, once I hit that profit margin, everything else after that I share among my staff and myself.
Yeah, interesting ethos, huh?
Yeah, but how many people do that? No. I made $1 million last year, I want to make $2 million this year. And at the expense of what? Of the people at the bottom, suffering. This thing about trickle-down economics, as we've all learned, is a joke. Nothing doesn't trickle down. So it's time for government to step in and to protect our people.
All right.
That's what I'm hearing on the street. That's what I'm seeing on the street. Some things that people don't want to discuss. Now I'm getting cases in writing. Racism. Classism has always been here. Gender bias. And the most famous one that we confuse sometimes with racism is anti-Caymanian. And the whole thing is, it's not that Caymanians don't want to work. It's just that people don't want to give Caymanians a chance to work because they can't hold a contract or a work permit over a Caymanian's head. Like I had one teacher tell me straight up, says, Mr. Bush, I have a child to feed and I'm on contract. They won't renew my contract. Well, I guess that's a hard choose between being professional and feeding your child. What do you expect?
Mm-hmm.
So you say, well, some of these people are caught between a rock and a hard place. So we really have to look carefully. Well, okay then, who are we going to hire?
Yeah, and how we do that. Well, Mr. Bush, when we come back, let's continue talking. Speaking to MLA Bernie Bush, the phone lines are open if you want to share your thoughts with us, 949-8837, or toll free at 1-800-534-8255. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
The management of Health Service Station Limited would like to take this opportunity to notify their customers that they will be closing from Monday, July 1st through Tuesday, July 9th for maintenance and upgrade to their fuel dispensers. They will be reopening for business on Wednesday, July 10th at 6 a.m. with regular scheduled hours, 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. They apologize for this inconvenience and appreciate your understanding in this matter.
There are plenty of reasons to be a Logic customer. There's lightning fast internet connectivity. There's the great overall customer experience. And now you can improve your Wi-Fi connectivity with Logic Boost Wi-Fi for free. With Boost, you can extend your freedom to stream, game, and download seamlessly anywhere in your home, like your patio or your underground lair if you have one. Sign up now for any Logic Bundle package and get free Boost Wi-Fi for a limited time. Visit logic.ky for details.
The following is a special announcement from the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
It's that time again.
SIXA Back to School Members Backpack and School Supplies Distribution will take place July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
And July 13th in Cayman Brac from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing.
Members, you are being asked to kindly bring identification, and if you are collecting bags on behalf of another member, please bring a written signed note from that member with a copy of their ID as well. Remember, SIXA Members Backpack Distribution, July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
July 13th in Cayman Brac, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing. And to quote Anthony D'Angelo, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow.
Always separate debris from household garbage after a hurricane hits. Debris includes roofing materials, downed tree branches, and metals. All items of debris must be placed in separate piles to the front of the property or at a side that is easily accessible to collection trucks. Debris must be placed in a location that will not cause obstruction to roadways or come in contact with electrical lines. For more post-hurricane waste management tips, visit the DEH website at www.deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for the opportunity to host this show. Appreciate the opportunity to be able to sit there and welcome to our studio one of our members of the Legislative Assembly, MLA, Mr. Bernie Bush. And I say that for a couple of reasons. As a friend, but also as a sitting parliamentarian, the opportunity for our country to sit, listen, hear directly your words as you see it, as you call the shots.
As I get it from the people on the street.
Exactly. That level of connection. And we have, I say this often, we have this access to our politicians that we don't seem to quite appreciate. Maybe we take it for granted. Maybe we abuse it. But if we don't challenge and champion the opportunities that provide us to have that safe society where you can call up a politician, make an appointment if necessary, we need to be mindful that when we see them in the supermarkets or on the streets, going to their cars, that they're people. They're going somewhere. We shouldn't abuse that time and abuse the access. But man, where else in the world do you have this level of interaction with the people that legislate for you?
Cayman Brac.
Oh, you know what?
You see how bad look Miss Susan gave me?
You have to walk through that door on the way out to pass her. You know?
Yes.
I'm just making you know. And I don't know, you're safe today.
Yeah, like I said, when you sit and listen to the people on the street, another popular question these days, there was one case where 7 Caymanians.
7. Wow.
Signed 7 different letters complaining about a supervisor that worked over them.
Mm-hmm.
Took it to the immigration board. And some of these things, I sat on the immigration board for PR and status for 5 years one time, 4 or 5 years. And there's no way under that crew that we had that those persons would have been granted. And they're asking questions, why was this individual given permanent residence and now at the workplace it's gotten so bad that you imagine even pulling a chair from under a pregnant woman?
Wow.
These are the kind of sins that were created. And that person was still granted permanent residence. And there's witnesses, everything. Like I said, they documented the stuff, so it wasn't, and they said, you can use our names. We don't care.
Mm-hmm. This is where you agree just that it needs to be addressed.
And because this is what they use the excuse, if you is called natural justice, they must see the complaints and what they're complaining about. Okay, because the only people who get natural justice in this country, according to the people, is Caymanians. Everybody else gets natural justice.
Mm-hmm.
But when you hear people asking, why is it? And I asked the immigration officer, a senior immigration officer, and the look that I got and the answer that I got was almost like, well, we can't. Can you turn down a work permit for just a person has a job, let's say maybe just working in a supermarket? You've been here 4 or 5 years. You say, okay, that's enough. No more. They're telling me they can't turn down a work permit. And I'm saying to myself, but this is our country. We can do anything we want to do.
Why
as long as we don't do something that's inhumane.
Yeah.
I mean, what's inhumane in this country that they don't want to do nothing about? You check out the salaries that the little janitors are making, that the security are making, and all of the rate tape that these companies bleed money from these people, that by the time they take home some money, it's probably $2, $3, $4 an hour. And then they say, oh, Caymanians don't want to work. They don't want to. Those people can shack up 3, 4, 5 in a room. We can't do that. So it's difficult for us to go to work for $3 and $4 an hour because you have some places that's using the tips and making up the $6. And the staff have told me they have complained. But the minute you complain too loud, you're just giving, they can get rid of, this is the amusing part. We cannot seem to say that permit is not being renewed. But a company can say, Sterling Dwayne, here's your 3 months notice, here's your 3 months pay, here's your vacation pay that we owe you or whatever, and that's all legal, and you out without a job. And there's no rebound for you. But someone else now, it seems like everything in this country is geared to pleasing everybody else or appeasing everyone except Caymanians. And when you hear the stories, when these people come and tell me these things, I'm starting to believe it's true.
All right. Mr. Bush, we do have a caller join us in the studio, MLA Bernie Bush. Good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon. Am I on air?
You are indeed. Thank you for calling. Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Sterling, and your guest there, Mr. Bernie Bush.
Hey, what's up, Big B?
Burns Rankin. Okay, how you doing?
Big B, Alec.
Mr. Burns. We used to play cricket together. He was Big B and I was Little B. No, I'm the big fat B now.
Very interesting what's happening in the country, Bernie. And I listened to your plea there with everybody on the radio about the injustice that goes on in the workplace. And, everybody's hearing it on the street, but we don't have the representatives in this country with backbone. I can always remember Ezra Miller when he was in Parliament. First time he got in Parliament, say if he had 11 men and women with backbone, what a beautiful country this would be. And he was so true. He was true to the bone. But one of the things I want to talk about, Bernie, the little school we got going on in West Bay, it's good, but I want to big up Ha because he's the first one that I know that started that, and that's how I made it to where I'm at today. So
that's Alan Moore.
Back to the community.
To some people it's Ha, to a lot of people it's Alan Moore.
Yeah. And I'm going to do the same thing he did, give back to the community. And anybody out there that has any electrical material that want to help with the classes, be free to call me at 916-8113 or Mr. Barney Bush, and we'll be doing the classes starting Monday evening at 6 o'clock at the West Bay Heritage Field. The West Bay Heritage House there, one of the buildings that is only used once a year for Pirates Week.
All right. Thanks so much, man.
Yes, thanks for reinforcing it. That's good. And that's the ladies and gentlemen in the listening public, that's Burns Rankin. He's a master electrician, and he is charging nothing. Burns is doing everything out of the goodness of his heart, and like he said, someone did it for him, he's passing it on. And when you come to these classes and see the patience he has with some people who learn fast, some people who learn slow, and I said we did the right thing by doing it this way, not trying to get it into someplace else. And I must thank Pastor Rose and their church over on Finch Drive. The first term, they gave us their hall free of charge, and they were a big help. And so we can't forget them now that we've gotten a more permanent place that we can use. But
we're going to big them up too, Barney.
Yep.
One of the things I'm trying to remember, you were saying something a while ago to Dwayne. I texted you and I said, do not forget the mentally challenged.
Correct.
All right? Don't forget them, because they're all about the street in West Bay, all over the country. And it seems to me that they are taking off their voters registration list, right? Am I correct?
I'm not sure. I heard some talk about it, but I didn't follow up on it.
I believe it is, Barney. I believe they're off it. You know, I mean, it's so embarrassing to tell people you're a Caymanian when you see people walking up and down the streets all messed up, begging people for food, and yet we boast and brag about we're the 5th largest financial center in the world, our GDP is so high, this and that. We're bringing in all of these people from all over the world to celebrate our Constitution?
Yes, the Braden Circus Act.
Yeah, we be bringing Shaka Hislop here. Nothing against him, but what happened to all these guys that built football like Houdan Archie and Claude Ebanks, Rayburn McLaughlin, all those guys? We forgot all about them?
Well, on that case, my complaint was, and I did speak to someone in authority, that it's as if no one remembered that we had women that took part in football. It seems that they forgot that the highest any Caymanian football team has ever gone was the under-17 squad that ended up 10th in CONCACAF. No males team has ever done that. On top of that team, there was 2 young ladies who set history. They were the only 2 young ladies to play Division I college football in the United States. And they didn't. Then what about the foundation, who I call the godmother of organized female football, Cherry Ann Whitaker? And what happened to people like Waverleen, Isley, and them who made the younger girls know that football was possible for girls to play back when Shirley Rolston, Sharon Rolston, Debbie Ebanks, Isley, Waverleen, Christine Ebanks, when all these girls was playing five-a-side football and playing a high quality without any technical coaching or they just learnt the game and played it beautifully. Where were all of these people, since this is the history? But like I said, Machiavelli called it the Braden Circus Show, so that's, I think a lot of people are seeing through these things.
Caymanians, you know. They're all Caymanians.
That's true.
They don't want to. The biggest problem we got in this country, Barney, is Caymanians is the biggest problem in this country. When they get in position, they just stand on their own people and just open the door with a red carpet for the rest of the world to walk in and do what they want to do.
Or they do things just for political sake.
Yeah. You guys have a good afternoon, a great show. I'll continue to listen to you, okay?
All right, thank you very, very much. And we're in a couple of quick WhatsApp messages. It says MLA Bernie Bush is well informed about what is happening in Cayman. He should join the opposition because the government he's a part of is to blame. I'll leave that to you if you want to respond.
Well, obviously, I like the email, but the person should pay attention because the last sitting of the House, the Honorable Roy Mike Tiger stood up and said, Bernie is not a part of us. He sits over here, and that's it. And I will let the public know in a very soon time because I want to get some clarification on this constitutional stuff. And you must always give credit where it's due. When the government was first formed, the premier said to me, and it was him that put me in, anybody else tried to take credit. It was the premier that put me on a few of the committees. And the premier said, I would like you to be a councillor. And I said, okay, go and speak to your minister. He came back and said, sorry, the minister don't want you. So, okay. Then the next thing I did was put forward 5 names to sit on boards. And those 5 names were not even acknowledged. And they were all people who were qualified for the boards that I put them on. They weren't for the sake of putting them there because of vote. And I didn't even get a reply on that. So I felt it best, okay, I know where I sit now. So I sat there, and I've tried to be what a backbencher should be, and that is not, I have seen the government bring things that people on their side hadn't even seen it. And they can try to tell the public otherwise. I know different, and there's a lot of people who see it for themselves. But I question certain things. And when you have, especially these people, the latest one that got everybody upset because the government almost lost the vote on it, Roy had to do the tying vote, was this board that's supposed to control the regulatory board. And all that stuff.
What it's called, yeah.
They come and ask for money again. And then one of the things they want money for is to do a survey to find out about the gas tank, about the gas pump. They know the public will know which one is diesel and which one is this and that. Come on. We have our schools suffering. We need assistant teachers to help teachers with classrooms that are overcrowded. We need all kind of equipment in school. We need all kind of stuff there. And they're wasting money talking about doing that.
Yeah, man. All right, speaking to MLA Burnabush, can I read another WhatsApp to you, sir? And says to MLA Mr. Burnabush, so illegal buildings and home extensions are being attempted and have actually been constructed, especially in West Bay. Says an appeal to planning. Would planning please enforce our planning laws, not just on select planning lawbreakers, but Big Capital Bowl, all of them. More later, gotta run. I read it as the person who wrote it.
I think I have an idea where that is. That is, quite a few people have complained.
It's rampant. I see it often.
Complain about it, and I think sometimes what I try to tell people is that there's some civil servants who I have had to work with. I have found them to be men of integrity and men of their words, and women of integrity women. And one of those is Mr. Haroon Pandohi. And I have found him to be a man with heart. Because I know 2 situations. One where it involved a child that was massively handicapped. He jumped through every loop to everything to try to help the family get, and it worked. I know another case of an very old family who just did over the walls. Text to 111, and someone went to those people. They had to tear it down and do all kind of stuff, and we had to get witnesses. This was not a do-over. This was not
a new building.
This was just the walls were rotten. Once again, and the people who are staying there, very old. Even the people that did the work did it for free for them. They show you, and people are there don't have work. Sometimes the man who's in his 60s will get a little yard work to do, or go help somebody pull up a boat. One of his sons has a fish pot. Once again, I saw Mr. Pandohi go through.
This is the director of planning for those who don't. Okay.
So on these cases, I'm sure if you get these illegal cases to him, he will look about it. But knowing how government operates, there's more red tape to get to it. That's why it's a known thing. Especially you. I learned this when I had my bakery, and somebody from DH told me, says, Mr. B, go ahead and do it. You have to get permission afterward when they make fuss. Because he says all the big places are doing it. So this is something that's known.
Mm-hmm.
So, but the thing, bring it to Mr. Pandohi's attention. And I am 99% sure if they're breaking the law, he will do what he has to do.
Speaking to MLA Bernie Bush, Mr. Bush, I'm looking at a couple of quick messages that came through, and I'm waiting for a picture too. If it comes through, they ask me to share it with you. Two of these messages are talking similar to what you speak of, but it talks about people who are doing, hopefully I'm reading it correctly, auto mechanics, so they're repairing cars, body spraying and whichever. This one I know has message, and has even called a number of times making a similar complaint. And they shared that they've taken it to DEH, they've gone to the police, they've gone to planning, they've gone everywhere and said, neighbors constantly doing this thing. The overspray coming into the yard, the fumes, but nothing is happening. It's not a
commercial zone.
It's not a commercial zone, so it's like, I live next to my neighbor and I'm working in the yard, not helping a friend, but doing a business. Now, this individual have repeatedly complained to everybody. Any advice on what I should do next?
Tell them not only that as well, but also contact their MLA.
Okay. Right.
And if their MLA happens to be with the wrong team and doesn't want to say anything, contact another MLA.
Okay. Now, for what it's worth, right, and I won't say that it's a daily or a monthly, but it's a frequent comment that we've received here since I've been doing this show from almost every district, where people have said, okay, the guy down the road works on cars, not just on weekends, but runs a business.
It's a business.
And, it's one thing to help out, help yourself, help others, but to operate within a residential area, I guess an industrial operation of this nature.
It's a known thing in this country. We have the laws. We just don't enforce it.
Wow.
That is a known thing.
Yeah.
People say, why don't you, the law's already there. We just don't enforce it. We've never had...
Why is that all?
Cojones.
Nobody has the backbone, as you said, the moral for. Wow. But that's an indictment against us.
My thing is, if somebody's doing something and you say, listen, I'll give you time.
Mm-hmm.
I'll give you 6 months to get your stuff together, and there's no extension after that. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to do this. In 6 months, and you give it to them in writing, you put it on the public, that person can go out and talk all they want. You were given a chance.
Right. As you share, another message comes through in relation to, it says illegal structure, so I presume the main building.
Yeah.
This one reads, shares that here's a legal structure, but I was told that since it's been there for longer than X years, no, I don't know what X, that's 1 year, 5 years, 50 years, that once the structure's been there over a period of time, there's nothing you can do about it. Now, that to me doesn't seem to be
kosher.
If it's there for that period of time, that would be when you could do something about it, because it no longer looks quote unquote temporary.
Mm-hmm.
I will reach out to planning to try to get some clarity on some of that. But these issues are issues. This other one says Mr. Bush seems to be well informed and certainly has his ears to the ground.
Well, I've always said to people that when I got elected to represent, I represent my people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at the end of the day, I have to represent myself in such a way, represent my family. But I don't try, if I go to a family and they say they want this, unless I know it's something that's bad, and I know for sure, and I said, well, you want to move your child to X country to do this subject. And I'm saying the schools in that country are not recognized for that. It's better if you move them here. Things like that, I'll try to lead them in the right direction.
Makes sense.
But I have never come on to try to put my views. I mean, one of my views that I've never hidden. I want to be independent. I want to get as far as from England as possible. I've never hidden that. But no one's ever heard me stand up on a platform and say, you all must follow me. No. That's my personal view.
Yeah.
That's my personal wish. Just like Ongaman Paran and a lot of other people who know what that country up there, because believe you me, if you think what this the Chief Justice did the other day is anything, there's a lot more coming. I can bet you on that.
Yeah.
I can make some predictions. It's 2 years to go to election. When the airport, when all that comes out, Cayman Airways, and you know what they're going to try to do again? They've done it before. Who they're going to try to blame for Cayman Airways is probably the CEO and his deputy. when you keep in mind their job is to carry out what the board wants, what the politician wants, right? But they'll find a scapegoat. You can sit down and you can bet your last dollar that there'll be a lot more blatant circus acts down the road to try to hide the suffering, because I keep hearing that Caymanians are in a good place. And I keep looking for those Caymanians. When I got to drop a child home, or when I got to drop a case of chicken to a yard, or when I got to get some clothes for a child, and you see a mother working hard, and you see the court system taking forever to deal with these fathers who are working, and then you want to tell me, say, you'll give a woman $100 a month for a child? And you see a woman having to choose between her electricity or food.
Difficult choice, huh?
When you see a woman have to choose between, what am I going to do with my child, or am I going to go to work? They say I'm lazy, but I'm not going to leave my child with.
It's something that you shared that I had a friend run some analysis on the cost of going to work. And partly because the allegation was, and I don't wish to speak too much because I don't want to embarrass nor offend certain sensibilities, but the allegation was that some people would rather stay home than go to work because easy money, as it were.
Yeah.
So he said he did an analysis, and he said if it's going to cost you X dollars to go to work, so for instance, child care, you got to get transportation, whether you pay a bus, pay a friend to take you, whether you buy a vehicle. So the more variables you put into it, you got to buy uniform, maybe there's some sort of lunch, there these other things you have to pay. What is that sum of money that you need to go to work that makes it more profitable than staying home? Right? And it's strange if we look at it to realize how much that is. And he says the knock-on effect is that we complain that we pay somebody $100 a week to mind our child. But for some people, end of the month, they're making $100 and they pay another $100. Or they're making $100 and they're paying out $110 or $90. So does it make sense?
Yeah, I've seen and heard that as well.
Yeah.
I mean, and it is so funny that people don't see this.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing that hurts me is I hear people constantly going after the needs assessment unit.
Yeah.
And to me, it saddens me because what I've learned is when people come to me for help, and I say, I can help you this month. Okay, I help you this month. The next month they come back and say, look, I have somebody else I have to help. They're upset.
Mm-hmm.
It's not only you. There's 1,000 more people that NAU has to deal with. And I've always used the analogy. If you wake up on a Monday morning to drink your coffee and you see me kick over your garbage can, Tuesday morning you see me do the same thing, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, Saturday morning you slept late, but when you wake up and you see your garbage can kicked over, who are you going to say it is? Not me? It's me. Mm-hmm. So this is what happens. You have 50 people try to fool NAU with a certain, maybe just saying,
mm-hmm.
I only make $25 a week at my job. When the 51st person comes and tells the truth, they suffer along with it because it's hard to separate the NA job. When there was a little girl I was coaching, and her mother worked at NAU before. And one night I said to her, I'll drop you home. Her father called and said he's working, if I could please drop her. She said, drop me by mommy workplace. So she said, NAU. And I said, but it's 9 o'clock. She said, so.
Yeah.
She said, mommy will be there late.
Yeah.
And so when you see these type of things, and you wonder, why is NAU having so much work? We as representatives and politicians are supposed to do things to make life better that people don't have. Because I know people that don't want to go to NAU, And the perfect example, I remember Mr. Chris Saunders giving a story one time, and I happened to know the young man,
mm-hmm.
applied for a job at one of the biggest, newest hotels to do a job at the pool, was turned down. They gave the job to a work permit holder. That young man, and the work permit was $8,000 something, whatever it was, wasn't nothing major.
Mm-hmm.
But that young man who has a child and goes about looking for work, he's not a lazy young man, is getting, in a year, when you figure, close to $6,000 or $7,000, $8,000 from NAU.
Yeah, when he could be working, right?
But he could be working and wants to work.
When we come back, maybe talk about that. Talk about the funding and allocations and the priorities as you see it in your perspective. Really grateful for the opportunity to spend this Friday afternoon as much as we can with MLA Bernie Bush. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The Counseling Center holds its first ever DUI workshop in Cayman Brac earlier this month. The center, along with the Department of Community Rehabilitation, held a 5-hour course for participants aimed at educating them about the possible personal and communal repercussions of driving under the influence. In international headlines, U.S. employers sharply stepped up their hiring in June, adding a robust 224,000 jobs, an indication of the economy's durability after more than a decade of expansion. The strength of the jobs report that the government issued today could complicate a decision for the Federal Reserve late this month on whether to cut interest rates to help support the economy. Most investors have anticipated a rate cut in July and perhaps another one or two later in the year. That scenario may be less likely now. Bahamian police worked today to identify the bodies of 7 Americans killed in a helicopter crash after being told that billionaire coal tycoon and Republican donor Chris Klein was among those on board. The bodies of 4 women and 3 men have been taken to the Capitol in Nassau to be officially identified. Officials said the helicopter was still in the water, and based on preliminary information, they did not believe there had been a distress call before it went down. Aftershocks from Southern California's largest earthquake in 20 years rumbled beneath the Mojave Desert today as authorities tally damage in the sparsely populated region. The strongest aftershock thus far hit shortly after 4 a.m., registering magnitude 5.4 and awakening people all the way to the coast. Those are your headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio Cayman, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio Cayman is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio Cayman.
The following is a special announcement from the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
It's that time again. SIXA Back to School. Member, Backpack, and School Supplies Distribution will take place July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the 2nd floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
And July 13th in Cayman Brac from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing.
Members, you are being asked to kindly bring identification, and if you are collecting bags on behalf of another member, please bring a written signed note from that member with a copy of their ID as well. Remember, SIXA members backpack distribution July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the 2nd floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
July 13th in Cayman Brac, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing. And to quote Anthony D'Angelo, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today in the studio. MLA Mr. Bernie Bush is our guest. So we do have another call online. Good afternoon and welcome you on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, ma'am. How are you today?
I am very thankful and highly blessed and stick up there and I think of common sense.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Bernie.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I got to handle you better than that. The deputy speaker.
That's okay, ma'am. Burn is fine, ma'am.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for reminding us. Yes, ma'am.
Thanks for calling in. How are you doing today, ma'am?
And it's like I said, very thankful and highly blessed.
Amen.
And the good Lord made me see one other day.
Amen.
And He can make me see some more, a lot more. I'm so glad to hear you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And Vernon, there's a few things. I'm not going to say a couple of things. Because a couple they say is only two.
Yes, ma'am.
It's a few things that I need to talk to you about, but I won't talk to you in person.
Okay. Where you still living? Same place?
Same place.
Right there, before you get to the hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
At the bottom of it.
Okay.
At the bottom of it.
Okay, I got to drop home 2 children down there after youth group this evening. I'll come by and see you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, ma'am.
I will see you then, and God willing, drive safe. Because I don't know if it's raining anywhere else or not, but we've been getting some of that. So, and we should be so thankful of that too. But the roads we wet and all like that. So I want you to be very careful as usual.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
And I'll see you later, God willing.
Okay. Thank you, Ma, for calling and sharing much. Now, when I know that, most days you find somehow more than 24 hours in a day. So I appreciate a few minutes you share with us. As we're looking at a couple of things, you talked earlier about the unrest, as it were.
Yeah, people. I remember about 2 or 3 years ago, we were sitting in the LA, and Mr. Miller brought up about, I can't remember if he used the word bloodshed or if he used the word protesting or whatever. And the next day, that thing that used to be called a compass, and that set of people that they had inside of there, thank the Lord, I heard that they've been bought out by some Caymanians, and I'm hoping that that's true. Took Ezra to town for it. And Ezra had simply said this is what he heard on the street. And it was so fortunate that he had spoken before me, because I was going to say the same thing. But unlike some of my colleagues, if 3 people say that the sky is blue, the 4th person will get up and say the sky is blue too. I'm not like that. If somebody said something that it needs to be said, they said, I don't think I have to say it either. So I would tend not to. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't say it. But when the compass at that time took Mr. Miller to task for saying what he said, I'd been hearing the same thing in Bordentown, Georgetown, and West Bay. He said he heard it in East End and North Side. And I'm telling you, they say the setup thing you have to watch is when an animal's back is to the wall. And a lot of Caymanians are feeling like they're being backed up more and more. And what gets to me, they hear some of our leaders get up and say, things are so good. And they're trying to figure out, well, how come it's not good for me? And I'm trying. And the detractors are quick to try, lazy people. I'm not talking the lazy ones, because one thing you learn is to separate the greedy from the needy. There's a phrase that I use. People say, how do you know? And when you hear people, and I always tell the police, when the criminals complain about you, it's good. But when good law-abiding citizens complain about you, it's not good. And this is the case. Good people are saying, we can't take much more of this. We can't take much more of this.
It seems to be an increasingly frequent comment. More and more people across the board, different professions, who are feeling that sense of frustration. You talked about conspiracy theories, but is that to some extent part of the mindset to create? Because to date, it's been a fairly stable, socially harmonious society, at least on the surface. If you create that, and the protests in the streets, the riots that we see at the places, the burning cars and the like,
Yes, and that it starts in education. When you will hire a man that was not good enough for another job in government, but you hire him for the most important position in this country, the HR of education. Why? You have to ask. Not qualified, no experience, nothing. Okay. You ask yourself, why did the John Gray at one time have to protest that they had a Spanish teacher that couldn't speak Spanish? There was 2 of them. What did they do now? When that teacher's contract was up, what did they do? They moved the teacher to Savannah.
But that seems
and this is a problem that's been going on. And you look at who at the top of HR. This is why I'm now looking and I'm seeing more Caymanians, even though one of them I will forever have a problem with, because there was a document to advance Caymanians who wanted to be advanced. This document's over 4 years old, with people signed up on it, and it's sat on one individual's desk ever since they got promoted from a failing school to be a big position in there. And the thing sat there, nothing's been done. And I understand now, finally, since the new chief officer's taken over, that they are now taking out that document again, and they're going, and I must say, I see this new chief officer tried.
Acting chief officer. Right?
Acting chief officer, and I see her communicating with us. I mean, we just went through a rough 2 or 3 years in West Bay Primary where our school dropped tremendously. Now, I'm going to give the Brackers. I hear you all are getting certain staff up there. I'm going to tell the Brackers, get everything in writing, and even then make sure you save your copy, because the second time you hear the story is going to be a different story when you deal with certain people who are coming up there now.
But no pun intended, I'm not asking you to speak out of school, but when it comes to education, there are many of us that have that genuine passion and interest. You spoke highly of Mr. Dan Scott, and many of us are looking to him, perhaps
to save this country.
Yeah, perhaps unfairly to him, we seem to look at him as what I was thinking of, that sort of panacea, that savior. But when it comes to education, whether it's the public education system, whether the private education system, the things transpire in our schools. Because we're connected to it in some way, we hear, we know, we get a little insight. But it's not spoken of to the extent in the public. Is that because we don't want to embarrass? Is it because we are ashamed? For instance, private school, there may be an allegation of sexual abuse, teacher to student, student to student, teacher to colleague, or it may be drug use, or it may whatever it is, right?
At those private schools, you must remember who's attending these private schools. When their children do wrong. I remember there was a case where a young man and a young woman was caught doing something. All they did was send one to another private school and send the girl to another private school. You never heard nothing of it.
Right.
So, but with our children, we are marked and scarred for life.
But across the board, Mr. Bush, it seems that when it comes to education, that the behaviors, whether it's, as you described, whether it's drug abuse, whether it's the seemingly inattentiveness, incompetence, or unwillingness of the teacher, or whatever, that we're not willing to hold people accountable. And deal with it.
I mean, a perfect example. I now have affidavits from people. John Gray was having a major problem with cell phones. Couldn't control it. But at Clifton Hunter, they had it under control.
Right.
But keep in mind now, the former principal was not liked. She didn't coddle people, it seemed. I don't know her, but it seems she didn't coddle people too much. All right. But she had the discipline part coming. So they've moved her. At the John Gray School, they had individuals in charge of the houses. Now, the statistics will show that Dolphin House, which is my house, and Marlin House are the two houses that has had the worst behavior in the last year or two. What have they done now? They've taken the man who was in charge of Marlin House and put him in charge of Clifton Hunter. If you had problems with Marlin, which is just a couple of things, how can you help? So we just got to pray that this was someone is seeing something that we who are keeping track and paying attention, we're not seeing something. But some people are good with paper. And when you run out, when you retire people like Mr. Bounds, who could relate to a lot of people, but then you have teachers now telling children, don't mess with me, I got a black belt in karate. That's not the way you deal with children. And you see another problem that has happened. Times have changed. Not that I agree with it. When we were growing up, it was automatically Miss Susan, because she may be a little bit older than you and I.
A lot yeah, a little bit older.
A little bit. Or we automatically showed older people respect.
Yeah, yeah.
Times have changed. The younger people are very knowledgeable because of the technology age. Things that we knew at 15, they're knowing from the time they're 10, 11, 12.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to earn the respect of this generation. And a lot of adults have not adjusted to that. I don't have no problem doing it, of the so-called baddest of the bad. When I get with, and I see other people not having that problem either.
Mm-hmm.
It's how you deal with them.
Yeah. But
and we don't have, I think we've lost that. I mean, when you hear people, I'm not going to say nothing because, I'm not going to do nothing because they're not going to renew my contract.
Right. I want to ask you pick up that comment you referenced about racism, especially within our schools and the allegations that we've had here.
You've heard them too?
I'll be honest with you, I must confess that if they're even a fraction of what I've heard to be true, it's alarming, it's disheartening.
When I come out on this topic, I'm putting my work together because one thing I've learned is I come on these shows and I have so much stuff because I don't come often, I don't stay on one long enough. But when it comes on the racism, which has never been discussed in this country, because it's taboo. Classism, we always talk about. Gender bias, you don't hear it too much, but it's there. Women are feeling a lot of stuff. And the one that we always hear about, or the Kimanization. But what I tell people, must stop calling it that and call it anti-Kimanism. Right? Because at the end of the day, the private sector, the government sector, I've come to find out it's the same. Everybody wants somebody under them who they have on contract that they can make them do things that they may not necessarily want to do.
Right.
When you have a Kimanian, the Kimanian knows his rights or her rights, they will say this or that. And it has gotten to a place now that if you are in the right and you handle yourself properly, there's a lot of safeguards in place if they are enforced to protect you.
All right.
The whistleblower, you hear anybody come forward with anything? Because you know why? They have no faith in it.
Yeah. Well, we've seen some jurisdictions employ or consider employing measures where they say to the whistleblower, as a result of an incentivizing you to come forward, we'll give you X, because they know at the end of the day it's going to be a challenge to find a livelihood after that. Mr. Bush, we have a couple of callers. Respectful. Let's go to our phones. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us in the studio. MLA Bernie Bush.
Good afternoon, Sterling.
Hey, good afternoon, ma'am. How are you?
I'm fine and tired. Good afternoon, Bernie.
We know why you're tired. You're working too hard.
What do you say?
I see. We know why you're tired. You're working too hard.
No, I just come home.
She has come home from partying. Plus, she only got one wing. When you're leaving for Europe, ma'am?
And I leave until next year, honey. But don't forget mine and your date.
That's true, ma'am.
Publicly, boy.
I have to take her to lunch, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
I
listen to me now. I need to ask you a question. Who is my politician? Because unless my eyes is crossed and I don't know whether I'm looking up or I'm looking down, because I don't see any, and I want to see that politician once a year when they come looking to vote.
So how often you see me?
Oh, don't worry, I see you. and you but the only politician that besides some other government people that came and look at the work for Italy.
Oh, and that's some awesome work. I wish the public, I hope you put some of that. No, you can't put on Facebook because then people will copy it. But I wish people would see some of the quality work you got there. I mean, that the public know, it's a good thing her brother has a room to sleep in, because
no space no.
No space no, because every other room in the house has a big piece. That is, each piece is specific. Oh, it's awesome, something to watch, man.
Yeah, one is about crystal clear water because it got a Neiman. And one is the 1920s Las Vegas old-fashioned costume. And then the other one is called Woman in Power. It's about abuse and cancer.
Oh, nice. I'm glad you're highlighting those two things. That's good.
Yeah. And anyway, I called to tell you I am very tired because I know I had no wings to fly on. And don't forget mine and your date, and I need to know who's my politician. Bernie, you have a good day. Bye.
Bye-bye, ma'am.
All right, good afternoon to you, man. Thank you. And one more call, Mr. Bush. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Hey, my friend. Afternoon to you. How are you doing?
Okay, and good afternoon to MLA Dwayne Bush.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you doing, sir?
Okay. Dwayne.
Yes, sir.
As a member of the Legislative Assembly and of West Bay, I'm asking you to bring a motion to the floor of the House and ask the government to start collecting concessions that we're able to build trade schools for our young people in this country. And especially being a member of the Legislative Assembly from West Bay, ask them to get one in West Bay for our young people. That our young people can even ride their bicycles and go to these trade schools. And knowing after they graduate, they're able to receive a certificate.
Okay, that's well said. I think they've got some things that they say is some kind of trade school, but just to let you know, if you haven't heard, every Monday evening, Burns Rankin and myself, Burns really, I pay for all the material and everything. Burns gives his time free. And there's an electrical school going on. You know where the Heritage Park is, right next to the Bush Field? Every Monday evening, 6 o'clock, there are electrical classes there. And we're right now talking to someone else about starting a plumbing thing as well. So I'm trying to do my bit down in West Bay. But I will look into that, what you said, sir, and it's a very good idea.
I'm talking real professional trade schools, Bernie.
Well, we're doing a real professional electrical class because you get your license at the end.
Yes, but I'm talking about a real professional trade school like what they have in Pennsylvania and what they have in Jamaica. That's what I'm talking about. And for us to be bragging about being so
rich,
so financially secure, but still the government being so worthless and not even providing a professional, not even one professional trade school in this country is a disgrace, Barney. A total disgrace, especially when they're giving away billions of dollars of concessions to multimillionaires and billionaires.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
You're 100% right.
Thanks very much for sharing. Now, I know, Mr. Bush, you've got, I say, a lot. I appreciate, the last hour and a bit. Obviously, as your schedule allows, the invitation is there to join us when you can. Feel free to share any final thoughts you want with us.
I would like to thank you for having me on the show. It was intended to talk about the electrical school, and it turned into everything else. But in closing, I will say what I always say. This little ship called Cayman has its problems, but it's still the best little place in the world. Now, like what everyone's telling me, is not the best place for Caymanians. But I'm going to say to you, expats who have come here and obtained papers, you all have to help bring up those that need a hand up. They don't want a handout. They want a handout. They want a hand up. Help give us a job. Give us a chance. But we all, at the end of the day, should be paddling this ship in the same direction. Because what we have, we don't want to lose it. People are suffering. Let us try to help each other. Just mix. Get to know. There are people who have been here for a while, got Cayman residence, got Cayman status, and if you ask them how much they only know the Caymanian, the fuel that they work with, they don't come outside that circle. They haven't taken time out to get to know none of us or whatever. We are a nice people at heart. In fact, we're too kind. And every time you turn around, they built another one called Caymankind, which is here we go again. We open our arms, welcome in, and we get in the bad end of the stick. But please, let us all paddle this ship together. And for those who are, let us pray for those who are needy and those who need help. Because right now, there's a lot of people who need help, and there's a country that needs God. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much to MLA Bernard Bush. With that, we'll pause and take a break. When we come back, there'll be open line. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Wow, it seems I buy a battery every year.
Oh, for real? You should buy your car battery from Vampman. Their batteries are tough. I have a 3-year warranty on mine.
Oh, I know that trick. I take it back and they charge me a percentage of the price.
Hear me out, bro. Not at Vamp Bobo. You can get a 3-year full warranty, no charge. And if they install it at Vamp, it includes free towing and jumping service. And let me tell you, you will never have to get your hands dirty changing no battery.
Get Motorcraft Max or Plus battery for 20% off when it's installed by the service department at Vamp Motors on Walker's Road. Now that's a deal you can get charged up about. Vamp Motors, keeping you on the road.
Sometimes things just don't go as planned. That's why you need Contractors All Risk Insurance from Fidelity Insurance Brokers. Ensure you're covered in the event of property damage and third-party injury or damage claims during your construction projects. And with Fidelity Insurance Brokers, you can be sure you are getting competitive pricing and superior customer service. Call us today for a free quote. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Headlines.
With the latest headlines.
All the news when you want it. Tune in to Radio K-Man for hourly headlines of the day's top stories.
One of K-Man's bright and shining young stars.
Local, regional, international.
Turning to international news.
Updates on the hour between 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. on weekdays. Radio K-Man News.
Headlines.
Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Hi, this is Bob Kingsley, and this weekend,
the Bob Kingsley Top 40 Countdown is brought to you by Merengue Town. Liven up your weekends and let loose with the grooves of Merengue Town. It's time. Feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
And, of course, the rest of the 40 hottest hit makers on the radio this weekend, right here on the Country Top 40.
The following is a special announcement from the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
It's that time again. SIXA Back to School. Member Backpack and School Supplies Distribution will take place July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
And July 13th in Cayman Brac from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ready Civic Center Medical Wing.
Members, you are being asked to kindly bring identification, and if you are collecting bags on behalf of another member, please bring a written signed note from that member with a copy of their ID as well. Remember, SIXA members backpack distribution July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
July 13th in Cayman Brac, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ready Civic Center Medical Wing. And to quote Anthony D'Angelo, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us. Now it's on open line for the remainder of our program. So the next hour or so, would you be so kind? Keep my company, share your thoughts with us. Very grateful to MLA Bernie Bush for taking some time out of his schedule, sit and share some thoughts. Some of you from your messages, obviously, not only agree wholeheartedly as you shared with Bernie's comments, but, seeing that you have the same perspective that he has. 949-8037, 949-6990. Now, Mr. Bush is, as we shared, has only had an hour or so with us, so he's gone on to another appointment. It is open line, 949-8037, 949-6990. A couple of messages have come through. I can pass them on to Mr. Bush as MLA but I can't pose them on air. He's not our guest now. One of the questions has to do with the Island Heritage Roundabout and the announcement that works are to begin in July. Now, did we assume that was going to happen, the first working day of the month on Tuesday? I'm going to try to reach out to the National Roads Authority and Public Works to see, but if, with great respect, if someone there listening could just give us a quick update so we can advise the public. To put it nicely, some of the people who have messaged have shared. It's been a week now. The lanes have been closed, one lane in each direction, but no visible road works have started. Now, I was trying to find the first press release that was sent out on behalf of the National Roads Authority that did say that beginning in July, they would start road works. They were going to last for 2 months. I don't believe I read, that this specific date they were going to start or exactly what they were going to do in order to address the issue. But many, and if you drive it as most of us do, we find that road, that particular roundabout, can be a little bit tricky, a little bit slippery. It doesn't have to be rainy or wet. In the meantime, while the road works are on the way, be a little more patient, be a little bit more careful, just to make sure that you're not creating any sort of mishap for yourself or others. But we'll try. Perhaps the NRA can give us a quick update as to why they closed the lanes for the week and haven't been able or hadn't designed to start. Maybe they can share with us when they intend to. Perhaps give us an insight as to what they do. But we'll leave it to them. 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free 1-800-534-8255. Likewise, you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And as we share, many of the things. Now, a couple of interesting comments, not just only emanating from what MLA Bernie Bush was sharing, but what others of you have indicated relative to the accesses, whether to beach or other areas that have been, for the most part, a challenge for some. And now this one here, as a message has come through, I'll share with you in relation to the roundabout as this comes through. This one says people are lying. I just came through that roundabout. That's the Island Heritage, and they are already digging the round about. It's in the garden. Looks like the garden will be smaller now. Perhaps it is, as some have alleged, that they're going to try to put in a third lane. I'm not sure exactly, what it is. I do know that work within the roundabout area, and the grass has been taken up, perhaps even a week before the lanes, and that would be the right lane closest to the median in both the south and the northbound directions were closed and coned off by the NRA. Now, as works go ongoing, obviously we want to be very, very, very careful of the workers so that we don't have them, put at risk, and ourselves as motorists equally. Now, those works within the physical garden, green space of the roundabout have been ongoing. I guess they got started, felt that they could do it safely, maybe just out of an abundance of caution. NRA stepped in and made sure those lanes are closed. Who knows? But it just shows, on one hand, the vigilance of the public, on the other hand, perhaps the impatience. 949-8037, 949-6990, or toll free 1-800-534-8255. The other comment that we've had, and it's been interesting, a number of you have shared verbally your sort of, concern would be the best way to place it, and I say that carefully so that it does not, seem to run in counter to what you may have heard or fly in the face of anyone who may be a little bit more sensitive. But the process by the elections office to ensure a proper, thorough, and as quick as possible verification process. Now, a number of you have said, why is it this way? We almost seem to be repeating the process. Others have said, but is there another way? And as one lady indicated to us, she shared, it isn't that we don't agree with the verification process. It isn't that it should be that, oh, this is the first time, so we're finding a way. She feels that too much of the process leads to potential allegations, and she's felt unfairly at the feet of the elections office because they're only carry out their jobs, and she thought that were that simple that it could be more of a political process to frustrate some. Now she shared, and I certainly share my disclosure. I can relate to it. Signing the petition isn't, she said, in her mind, a view that she's for or against. It isn't that she's necessarily neutral. She says, I'm going to make up a decision. I'm going to vote yes or no, but I want information. I want to be able to understand it. And she thought that it's unfortunate that we've got to this contentious place in our society where we can't seem to have proper discussions that are timely, where we have seemingly, incontrovertible evidence coming forward, where people can share their views, where the government provides information, where there isn't any potential perception of bias or conflicts of interest. Now, maybe that's how it is in the ideal world. Maybe that's not how it is at all. Who knows? Your thoughts, 949-8037, 949-6990. What is on your mind? What is the thought for you today that is so crucial, so imperative, that you believe that we're not paying sufficient attention? The other sentiment that came through in relation to some of the sentiments expressed by MLA Bernie Bush had to do with education. And one of the individuals wrote in to share that the view was that it was hopeful that Mr. Bush would have been a little bit more forthcoming with somebody. And let me read the word. They put allegations that were shared because they thought that it's too much of our future that's at risk when we don't look more carefully and closely at our education system to ensure that not only are we instructing our children in a proper way, but that we're bringing them along for a much more productive society as Cayman has changed significantly. But what is your view on education? Should it be, as some have alleged, that it's really no place for a government, especially a politically elected or appointed entity? It needs to be as independent of the system as possible. Or do you think that because of our laws and the mandatory requirement for children to be educated until a certain age, that we need to rethink how we approach our education? One comment that came through had to do with graduation, and do not know whether Mr. Bush would have been in a position, but I regret not getting it in time to ask. And it had to do with why is the graduation on Grand Cayman being changed, and I presume that's referring to the high school graduations, but the one on Cayman Brac, the dates remain as initially intended. Well, 949-8037, 949-6990, or you can WhatsApp 925-3261. And if you so choose, you can also send us your thoughts on our email, talktoday@candw.ky. Now, this message someone has forwarded very graciously, and I've had confirmation that it's official because Ms. Susan is always on the ball. It's from the NRA. It says upcoming road works, Island Heritage Roundabout. It says NRA will be carrying out works to upgrade the Island Heritage Roundabout on the Esther Tibbetts Highway. Works will commence on 2nd of July and last approximately 2 months. During the works, drivers are asked to proceed with caution and follow all relevant signs and road markings. Traffic on the roundabout will be reduced to 1 lane northbound and 1 lane southbound during the road works. And I look forward to this upgrade being completed, and thank you for your patience. Apologies to extent for any inconvenience caused by this. So that's what we knew. Now, to what extent those roadworks are going to be and how it's going to be affecting us, and to the people who messaged to share, well, they've had the roadworks posted for the week, but they haven't really done anything just yet. Well, you prepare, and perhaps Maybe tomorrow, maybe tonight, maybe it'll be Sunday, maybe it'll be first thing in the morning. Maybe this was just a way to get you accustomed as you start to drive that, this is what you're going to expect. So it takes sometimes somewhat a little while to get acclimated, to become adjusted. And up the road, there's going to be this change in the road layout, so from 2 lanes to 1. And if I share that with you, perhaps Monday as we're coming into work, be mindful that could delay us somewhat. There may be more works ongoing, more equipment, more personnel in the roundabout and in the work zone. So you may have to take a little extra time to get where you're going. It is open line, and as we see our phone lines and lights flashing, we'll get ready to join our callers in a second. Those who want to share, 949-8837, or toll free at 1-800-534-TALK. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you doing?
My friend, how are you today?
Not too bad, not too bad. I just listening to the conversation. Obviously, I missed the Burners time in studio, so I wasn't sure what the topic was then. But
yeah, he came in and shared some things. We got a chance to chat about education. He was supposed to be talking about his whole notion of the upcoming trade school for electrical starting on the 8th. Again, his round 2. So all is well though. Otherwise.
Yeah, no, everything is fine, thanks. Hope the same for you. But I was just listening in on some of the various topics you went over. Obviously, education should be paramount to our list of priorities, but somehow we've seen where it slipped through the cracks, and it's not as priority as we would like it to be. But and we could talk about the behavior of governments and individuals in government forever, because we've seen a lot of strange things happen for whatever reason. But I think we need to pay attention to the reality of what's taking place in Cayman, and I think it's really unfortunate that we see the blatant disregard for the continuity of the average Caymanian. And I say that simply because if we look at the grand scheme of things that are happening in Cayman in terms of development and laws and policies and things that are transpiring right before our very eyes, not everybody have the time to stop and pause and investigate and come up to speed in terms of what the reality of most of these things are. But certainly after a certain time has expired, we see those things start to affect us. Cost of living, development, planning, housing, all these things, food, gas. The thing is that I say these things because when we look at our politicians and we just go to education, we now have a second-term premier, Mr. Alden McLaughlin, who before that he was the Minister of Education, who embarked on this journey of building new schools so that the Caymanian people would have a place where they could get educated. Now, we know what happened with that. It didn't work out. He didn't finish the schools. They still haven't finished the schools. One would ask the question, why wouldn't the then Minister of Tourism, the now Premier, second term running, haven't focused or prioritized completing something that he thought at the time was imperative to the success of Cayman's education system? I would like to know what changed during the time in which he started the schools to the point now where he's had the full autonomy to have refocused on the schools, have them completed and have them done. Because we've seen the government build roads, we see the government now trying to build a $300 million port, we've seen the government overspend at an airport which is non-functional. So we've seen all these things, but yet there was no emphasis, there's no priority on schools, and that begs to ask the question, what transpired within the mind of the now sitting premier as to why he wouldn't focus and prioritize the school? That's number one. That's one of the things that I heard you touch on. And number two, when we look at all of the things, and we may say, oh, well, maybe that's because of this, or we don't know the details. Now, when we look at the situation, what's happening with the development of the Cayman Islands, and there's nothing wrong with developing and accommodating for all sectors of our society. rich, poor, middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, whatever it is, it's important that we strike a proper balance in terms of how do we develop and how do we put legislation in place in order to accommodate every single aspect of our society. But for some reason, we've seen more emphasis on others, and it's not me saying it. It's the writing on the wall that is saying it. It's those people who are enjoying the economic success versus those who are not that is telling this story. It's not me or you or anybody who have somehow interpreted this situation for what it's worth and decide to speak publicly about it. It's not us. It's the writing on the wall that is creating these scenarios. And I want to know why the government has done absolutely nothing in terms of cost of living, the simple things that could ensure the sustainability and the continuity of the average person. And we don't see any efforts being made in that area. Now, we look at the port, we look at the verification process, we look at the effort that was made by over 6,000 registered voters only to be disregarded and treated as if we are a non-factor. I can tell you right now, Sterling, I'll play Nostradamus for 5 seconds. The Verded Isle Group, which is a consortium of McAlpine, Orion Construction, some entity of DART, is going to be announced next week as the winning bidder for building the cruise pairs. That's a fact.
Wow.
Okay? That's what's going to happen. That's my prediction.
But even with the ongoing verification process, do you think a government would be advised to go ahead and say, okay, this is what we're going to do? I mean, that's politically kind of risky, man.
Well, this is the point I'm trying to drive to, right? Knowing that the election office in today's paper have made an announcement that they have verified 13%, which is over 700 signatures. Now, if you show me more than half of the electorate that got elected with more than 700 registered signatures, then you would be showing me something that's new, that don't exist, that is probably not true. Because more than half of the 19 elected members didn't get over 700 signatures to be elected. And that in itself should be a clear message to the elected officials that this is a real petition. The idea that the election office can verify 700 signatures in a week tells the elected government, look, this is no longer a figment of anybody's imagination. This is a real live document that will be verified, and we will go to a referendum. So in good conscience and in the best spirit of the needs and the wants of the people, you have to stop. Now, they can announce who the preferred bidder is, and that's fine because they already went through the procurement process. That's a fact. So announcing the bidder is not a problem for me, because announcing the bidder and signing a contract with the bidder is two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So announcing the bidder, fine, but at least coupled with the fact that there is a ongoing verification process, and now we have to put that preferred bidder on pause until the verification process is done, and then we can proceed on the outcome of the referendum. I think that would be the most prudent thing moving forward, that respects everybody's interests. So, I believe and I hope that that's the case, but you and I both know that won't be the case. The government will continue to disregard the people's wishes. They will continue to disregard. The Premier hasn't responded and said, well, I'm traveling or I don't have any convenient dates to meet with you guys. He just never responded at all, which I think, again, is a blatant disrespect to the individuals who have saw the importance to be involved in a process like this. Because, remember, the CPR group don't represent the members who are in the group. They represent the 6,000 people who have signed that petition. So for the government, mainly or primarily the Premier, to ignore, emails or requests to just have a meeting so we can have a conversation, is a blatant disrespect to a large voting bloc of our electorate. So that being said, we also know that, and I can go back as far as 2013, and I don't know, sir, if you remember when back then it was when they had unseated the then Premier, McKeever Bush, and then it was Klein Glidden and Juliana and her group. Juliana was then the Premier. When the idea of a cruise berthing facility was floated, because it had been talked about for a while, and there was a whole debacle with GLF, the UK sent down 2 of their procurement officers in order to listen to what the issues and the things were surrounding this particular project.
Mm-hmm.
And those officers came back with nine different things in which the government would have to abide and agree to and check these boxes off in order for the UK to be supportive of this thing. So the governor, and I think that they went ahead and they checked off most of those boxes, if not all. I'm waiting to get a list of those 9 things so I can verify whether or not they checked them all off. But now this explains a lot as to why this governor is somewhat seemingly agreeing or not, in any way objecting to the process that the government or the position the government has taken in terms of this petition. So these are all of the working mechanisms on the backside of these things that the average person don't really see.
Right. But with that, though, didn't the government, because of the UK's involvement, have to pay some, millions of dollars to come out of the GLF contract?
Yeah, because of the inappropriate manner in which it was handled, the people of the Cayman Islands had to foot a bill for a couple of $1 million because of breach of contract. Again, we are very mindful of that incident. It didn't happen a long time ago. We are trying to avoid anything like that happening again.
Mm-hmm.
We've asked the government on the onset of this petition if they could please have a conversation with the people. Could they please, allow this process to materialize and respect the wishes of the people, if that in fact is the wishes of the people, and halt all negotiations or even halt the idea of signing any contract
right.
that will obligate the country to any more unnecessary expenses.
All right. Thanks for sharing, man. Appreciate very much your input. All right, with that, I do apologize a little bit late for the break, but thanks for having a chance to have that input from our very informed caller. Stay tuned, please, for Talk Today.
King Sports Center Art of Fun Summer Camp is back from July 2nd to August 2nd. Now in its 15th year, the Art of Fun Camp is ideal for kids ages 5 through 10 with activities from football, basketball, dodgeball, squash, rock climbing, arts and craft, dance, singing, and more. Your child can practice physical and social skills while having fun in a safe and secure environment. For more info, call 946-KING. Like King's Sports Center on Facebook, and you can also find them on Instagram or call 946-5464. King Sports Center, providing you with all your fitness, recreation, and relaxation needs. Register before May 31st and save 10% on camp registration.
Radio Cayman's Breeze Fusion Walk Run is coming back in November. Registrations are now open at www.caymanactive.com, or you can stop by Radio Cayman. Race day will be Saturday, November 2nd, and it's going to be bigger and better with the new 10K run for half marathon trainers, as well as the 5K walk run. This year's funds will go to support the Central Scranton Park and also the NCVO. Registration is only $15 if registered by September 30th. And early registrants enter to win a Cayman Airways voucher. The Breeze Fusion 5K 10K Walk Run. It's coming Saturday, November 2nd. Don't delay. Register today.
From happy beginnings to happy ever after.
BritK protects your lifestyle with the best insurance cover at the best possible price.
Health insurance with far-reaching benefits.
95% of claims settled in 5 days.
Low-cost life insurance.
And investments.
Security in retirement.
With a custodian pension plan.
For happy beginnings and a happy ever after.
Visit BritK.ky or call 949-8699.
BritK, where people come first.
The following is a special announcement from the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
It's that time again. SIXA Back to School. Member, Backpack, and School Supplies Distribution will take place July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the 2nd floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
And July 13th in Cayman Brac from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Reddy Civic Center Medical Wing.
Members, you are being asked to kindly bring identification. And if you are collecting bags on behalf of another member, please bring a written signed note from that member with a copy of their ID as well. Remember, SIGSA members backpack distribution July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIGSA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 shoe shop.
July 13th in Cayman Brac, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing. And to quote Anthony D'Angelo, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It's open line 949-8037 or 949-6990. Likewise, you can send us your thoughts on our WhatsApp 925-3261, or you can call us toll free with the kind compliments of Flo 1-800-534-TALK 1-800-534-8255. Again, thanks to that caller earlier. Even though many of us recognize his voice, he's been a guest there. Just because he didn't identify himself, I don't want to, be disrespectful and improper enough for the normal protocol. But he always shares accurate, timely information, and really appreciate the opportunity to hear from him directly. 949-8037. Let's go to our phones. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Mr. Ambassador, how are you today?
Very good, very good. How are you doing?
Man, excellent, man. Looking forward to a good day.
You're getting younger, man. I see you in the...
Amen, brother. Amen.
Yeah, man. You see, Dwayne, I was listening to Mr. Mario Rankin just a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Number one fact, Mr. Rankin need to know that he needs to understand that those signatures need to be verified. And that is, not anyone could walk from the street, claim he have 5,000 signatures, or 6,000 or 10,000, whatever signature amount he have, and say this is the people who can elect in this country, and he wants to hold a referendum, and he thinks the government just take those papers and put a date for referendum and not be verified.
No, I think respectfully, sorry to interject. I think his and others like that are saying, yes, we need to verify and it should be verified. I think the question is the process. Is it timely? Is it not going to be overly expensive and cumbersome? But I agree with you. I think we all agree that we want it verified so that we don't have any allegations of, fraud or impropriety or the like. But we got to make sure that we're not, justice delayed is justice denied. If it's in the courts, would it not be the same, with the referendum or verification process?
Yeah, and second fact that I am not here, saying I am against referendum.
No, you're not.
I am saying all of us, we need to respect whatever the law in this country. Maybe Mr. Rankin will jump again and say there is no referendum law. Yeah, but there is something, say common sense in this country, which is verifying those signatures if they are correct or not. Because if you sign, I'm not saying Mr. Rankin.
No, just generally, right.
I'm saying in generally,
right.
If somebody sign in behalf of somebody, that's a crime. So the government need to know if those signature is correct, if those people who sign did understand why they sign, and what is the purpose they sign for.
Now, with that in mind, with great respect, do you think, your personal perspective, that either A, somebody signed fraudulently, I put down a signature, but it's not really the person. Do you think that's happened? Or you think that the people who sign, sign genuinely and honestly?
I think there's a lot of people, sign the petition. They, yes, maybe they against the port. They don't want the port.
No, not whether they're for it or against it, or just the fact that on the petition there is a signature. Do you think that person, that's a legitimate signature, or do you think that there's a fraud? Now, we have the news coming up.
We don't know. That is why the purpose of verifying the signature, and the election office, if he accomplished 700 signatures, 700 people in 1 week, that's a great job they are doing. And Mr. Mario needs to stop, go in the radio, and wait for the election office to finish verifying those signatures.
But if you're doing 700 a week, right, and you're looking almost 2 months to get it done if you do an average of 700. I don't want to be dismissive, no disrespectful. I do have the news, so I got to choose between you and Susan. There's no choice. You can let us know if you want to hang on or call back, right, respectfully. You know what? When Norma's away and Susan gets in trouble and she's going to spank me. All right, let's go to the news. Come back to the callers. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio K-Man.
Radio K-Man's newsroom. These are the biggest stories right now.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The Elections Office approved 702 signatures, 12.9% of the 5,483 signatures submitted by the Cruise Port referendum. The Elections Office is independently verifying the signatures on the petition in order to see whether they have hit the constitutionally required number to trigger a referendum. In international headlines, police say a false report of gunfire set off a stampede in Chicago, trampling more than a dozen people at the annual 4th of July display, where thousands of revelers had crowded the Lake Michigan shore. 3 others were stabbed when a fight broke out after a group of young males flashed gang signs. Authorities say 3 people suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Iran should consider seizing a British oil tanker in response to authorities detaining an Iranian tanker off the coast of Gibraltar, that from a former leader of the Islamic Republic's powerful Revolutionary Guard. Mohsen Razai's comment came amid heightened tensions over Iran's unraveling 2015 nuclear deal with world powers, an accord that the U.S. withdrew from last year. Those are your headlines from Radio K-Man's newsroom. I'm April Cummings.
Radio K-Man, the voice of the Cayman Islands.
What's happening in your community? News and information, music and more. You can find us. www.radiokman.gov.ky. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Radio K-Man is your choice, your voice for today's biggest news. Radio K-Man.
.9 Radio K-Man helps you to weather the storm during this hurricane season.
One of the most crucial elements of hurricane preparedness is storm awareness. During the season, it is of utmost importance to pay attention to the latest local weather forecasts, as hurricanes do not suddenly form or strike. There are various methods of advanced notification. Utilizing such may be the difference between a favorable outcome and disaster. Both television and radio serve as excellent mediums with up-to-the-minute storm path information in the wake of a hurricane. Another method of tracking a hurricane may be only arm's length away. Your smartphone or tablet can be your most valuable tool before, during, and after a storm, providing countless numbers of apps with crucial hurricane information. Many apps allow you to track storms with moving radar and satellite imagery, plus offer alerts, current conditions, forecasts, advisories, and even video.
This hurricane preparedness tip was brought to you by your community radio station, Radio K-Man, 89.9 FM.
Talk today. But I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us. It is open line as we go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today. Hello. Good afternoon.
Hello.
Welcome.
Sterling?
Oh, there you are. Yes. Welcome back, man.
Listen, I thought it's almost comical, but I just feel because it's not my nature to allow.
Right.
To allow certain things to be said that are untrue. First of all, my conversation previously, I never said anything about not verifying the signatures.
No, you didn't. No.
And secondly, for Amjad or anyone to suggest that I must stay off the radio, let me just explain something to him and all of those who think that I should. I born in Cayman. I was raised in Cayman. My mother was born in Cayman. She was raised in Cayman. Her mother and her mother and her mother and her mother was born from the soil of Cayman. And under no circumstances will I ever listen to anybody, whether domestically or foreign, in terms of trying to muzzle my right to speak my opinion based on the facts that I know. That's that. Number two, if Mr. Amjad wants to criticize and say whatever he wants, that's totally his prerogative. I have nothing against him. He say whatever he wants. But whenever you saying something about Mario Dion Rankin that is untrue or not factual, my nature has to respond. Now, the reality is that for Amjad to believe that anybody in this process wants to have a referendum without the verification, then he's sadly mistaken. Why would we have a press release at the election office to hand over the petition to the election supervisor for the verification if that was something that we didn't want to happen? We've never expressed that we didn't want the signatures to be verified. We've never expressed that we wanted to go and do anything that wasn't representative of integrity or the laws. The problem is that not because someone chooses to take a path mean that that's the right path. Not because someone who we have a lot of respect and integrity for says something meaning that they're always right. The reality is that we're all human and we're all subject to human error. And for anyone to believe that there was anybody within our organization that went out and maliciously and willfully signed anybody's signature or forced anybody to sign is absolutely ridiculousness. Foolishness is rubbish. Because if that was the case, then why we didn't submit the petition in 2 weeks or a week or a day? It wouldn't have taken us that long to fake 5,000 signatures. It was a grueling process. It was a very strenuous process. It was something that we dedicated our time and our efforts and our resources to. And we abided by the Constitution. We didn't circumvent the law. We saw what the requirements were. It took us 9 months to meet the requirements. And now that we're asking for a legitimate process of verification, all of a sudden we're trying to skip a process.
Right.
That's not.
If I could ask you though, and I was just thinking how, should I repeat it as I was given to me or try to phrase it? Someone had suggested that it seems that for the target, the goalpost was always moved in that first it was 5,000 or something and then it was 5,000 something plus something. So now we're told there's almost 5,500 signatures because of the increase in registration. So as at this date, has that been the case? It's only a few each time, but has the numbers increased as to the percentage of voters?
Well, in the spirit of fairness, we would have to say that once you look at the law, and Sterling, tell me if I'm imagining things or if I'm being unreasonable. If the requirements at the time the petition started was 25% of the registered voters at the time, which was 21,150, which 25% of that was 5,288.
Right.
Okay. Yes, people got registered during that period, and I agree with that. The percentage should change accordingly before you hand in the petition. Okay. So on the day that you hand in the petition, and the percentage had increased, and you have failed to meet the constitutional requirement of 25%, then obviously you have an issue. However, on the same token, if the day that we handed in the petition, that we met the 25% that was representative of the electorate at the time that we handed it in on that date.
Mm-hmm.
Under the law, I can't see any law that could mitigate that. Okay, well, 6 weeks later, we had other people who registered, so the percentage had changed. So therefore, the signatures that you recorded and submitted are below the required amount. Because
Right.
it should be what the elected member list was consistent of during the date that we submitted the signatures. And if we're talking about law and we're talking about fairness, and because Amjad have no clue about the nature, the historical makeup, and the moral rights of Caymanian people, and that's only because he's not from here, and those are the facts.
Right. Well, sorry, go ahead.
No, I only say all that to say this. I don't have nothing against anybody. But when you are getting on our public platforms and saying things that are that are unfactual and things that you have no idea about, we can't allow those type of things to happen. So it gives me my opportunity to debate him on anything. First of all, I know wasting no more time on Amjad because, in my opinion, until he's willing to present whatever facts he claims he has, I don't give people like him the time of day. So we move along from that. I know a word about him. He knows about it in my books. So the reality is that here we are trying to accomplish a precedent that was allowed and afforded to us through the Constitution. We've abided by all of the regulations that were there, the limited ones that were there, and now because we say, hey, you have a database, the election office has a database, Sterling, and to the Cayman Islands and the listening public, the election office have a list of everybody who's registered to vote in this country. They have a database with signatures. Why hasn't the election office started to check those signatures against the petition as opposed to letting people fill out a whole new form? That's the question that we asked. We never said that we don't want the election office to verify. Absolutely, we need them to verify because we want the politicians and the wider Caymanian people to see that this was a fair, transparent, and honest process. At the end of the day, I want the verification process to take place simply because I think that it'll demonstrate and illustrate to the people of the Cayman Islands that this was a fair and honest and transparent process by the individuals who went out and invested their time and efforts and resources into this petition. So moving forward, when this organization chooses to do something similar in the future, that we have credibility. So verification is absolutely essential to this process.
Right.
We just wanted to ensure, Sterling, that it was a process that was fair and above board to all of those people who signed the petition. And we talk about, I don't get it, Sterling, that we sitting here having a whole month-long conversation about CPR and the Cayman Islands government and the election office when there are 6,000 people who are involved with this process that should be respected, that have the right to be respected and have the right to register, that have the right to vote in this country, have a right to sign that petition and have a right to vote on a referendum. We have totally disregarded their rights. And that's wrong, and it really concerns me because it sets the standard moving forward on how we deal with the people of our country. And it's not right. I'll leave it there because I think I've said enough. And Amjad, my friend, anytime you want to have a public debate as opposed to calling and saying things and hiding behind your phone, let's have a public roundtable debate and make sure you bring your facts. Bring your facts because I read it in a day of the week. On my worst day, I read it to debate you or anybody in government for that fact.
All right, well, thank you very much for sharing that, man. Enjoy your afternoon. I believe one quick call before the break with Susan. All right, let's go to the phones. Hey, good afternoon. You're on Talk Today. Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm Dwayne.
How are you?
Fine, thanks you, sir. Good afternoon. Mario is on the panel, or he's called in.
He called in.
Good afternoon to him, too. Boy, they try in every way to beat us in every shape and form. I thought that when we went to the meeting at the town hall that we had with Mr. Howell, I thought the question was asked by many of our guests there, our audience there, about the goalposts being slipped if more registered voters should come in. More people should register to vote.
Mm-hmm.
And to my knowledge, maybe I'm wrong. I thought Mr. Howell said that when we present the petition, when the petition is presented, that would be where the numbers would be. Maybe I understood him wrong, but that was what I understood. That
I think some others share the same perception. Yeah, it's at that date. Yeah.
That's what he said. As far as I can recall, that's what he said. That when the position is, whatever voters we have at that time, that would be the numbers that we would have to work with for this referendum. Now, I don't know how all of a sudden now if they slip the goalpost again. But if Mario remember very carefully, Dr. Roy Borden plainly told us that we must be prepared because there's going to be plenty hurdles, and yet we had only reached one hurdle. We never had got over it yet. We only reached it. And there we can see. But I would also like to, I'm sure that people from the elections office is listening, but we want, as a voter, we want that if the election office shouldn't be going to people's house 12 o'clock in the day because majority of the people in Cayman works very hard. So it's a possibility they're not going to find no one home at 12 o'clock in the day. I would make a suggestion that they do it after 5 when they know for sure people have start to make their way home. And if they should go to people's home and they do not find nobody, they should leave a note or some kind of evidence that the people can say the elections was here, because it's not good they're going back there and saying that, well, I went to John Paul's house, but he wasn't home. What proof does John Paul know that the elections office came there?
But it's summer as well, too, so some of us are traveling, we're engaged in different things, so we mightn't be, as you shared, on island or available, right?
Exactly. The dog not going to tell us that somebody came to the yard. So, I mean, we need to have some proof, at least. If I'm off the island and 3 weeks later I come home, I see a note there stuck on my door saying the elections office here, I can't say, no, they didn't come. Because somebody had to bring a sticker there. If they got election signature, if it's a paper from elections office. But if I don't see no paper that say that somebody was here, and I don't get, nobody hasn't physically approached me to verify my signature, then how am I going to say the elections office came to my yard?
Right. Well, I hear you. The elections, and I'll share with us after the break, the press release from the elections office, but it did say that they've approved 12.9% of the 5,438 signatures that's been submitted by the Cruiseport Referendum Cayman Group as of yesterday. So 5,438. So they've gone to just under 13% so far, you know.
Well, congratulate them for it, and that's very good. But besides that, if we say we got just a rough figure, we say we got 5,888 signatures, then you need to go to 500. You need to go to, if you go to everybody, you need to make sure that everybody you see. Because you can't come and tell me that you went to 588 and 500 said nobody looking to them. Because that's another hurdle that they're putting away for us again. So
yes, well.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you very much, okay?
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Bye.
And when we come back from the break, the elections office has supplied a press release that indicates that there's, the open hours for the elections office. There's some, verification booths at the supermarkets and where the door-to-door verification process is taking place. We'll share that with you when we come back. The phone lines are open, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
At Seaboard Marine, customers often ask us questions about their shipments.
I have various items coming from different suppliers that I need to ship to Cayman. Do you offer consolidation?
Yes. Seaboard Marine offers consolidation for full and less than container loads. We can hold your packages at our Miami warehouse until everything arrives and ship it all in one go. And we have the best rates to Grand Cayman. Visit seaboardmarine.com for more information.
Shipping shore to shore. Seaboard.
The following is a special announcement from the Cayman Islands Civil Service Association.
It's that time again. SIXA Back to School. Member Backpack and School Supplies Distribution will take place July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIXA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 Shoe Shop.
And July 13th in Cayman Brac from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ruddy Civic Center Medical Wing.
Members, you are being asked to kindly bring bring identification. And if you are collecting bags on behalf of another member, please bring a written signed note from that member with a copy of their ID as well. Remember, SIGSA members backpack distribution July 8th to the 12th, daily from 1 to 7 p.m. in Grand Cayman at the SIGSA office located on the second floor of the Hospital Road Plaza above number 1 shoe shop.
July 13th in Cayman Brac, 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. at the Aston Ready Civic Center Medical Wing. And to quote Anthony D'Angelo, develop a passion for learning. If you do, you will never cease to grow.
Did you know that in the event of a hurricane, water designated for the purposes of drinking, cooking, and bathing must be disinfected before use? Water may be disinfected either by boiling or through the use of chlorine bleach. To disinfect through boiling, simply leave the water on the fire for 1 minute after it begins to boil. To disinfect with bleach, add 3 ounces of chlorine bleach to every 1,000 gallons of water. If you are not able to smell the bleach in the water after 30 minutes, then add half of the amount of bleach that was added during the initial application. Recheck the water after 15 minutes to ensure that there is a residual bleach smell. A residual bleach smell is an indicator that the water has been properly disinfected. For more post-hurricane safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. It is open line. Hey, seems like a Friday. Monday was a holiday. This Monday isn't. Not one scheduled for a long time to come. Well, today, better enjoy it. Friday as it is. 949-8037 or 949-6990. Again, on behalf of the Elections Office, just a quick reminder, the opening hours for the Elections Office, if you want to go to verify your signatures, 8:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Monday to Thursday. On Fridays, they'll close at 5, so 8:30 to 5 on Fridays. They're also open on Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. They're going to have the staff, some of their staff, at the verification booths at some of the supermarkets tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. The Foster's Food Fair in the Countryside, Shopping Village in Savannah, and the Republics in West Bay. Now, reminder that the door-to-door verification is going to be this weekend also. Borden Town West, Borden Town East, Newlands, Savannah, West Bay North, West Bay Central, West Bay West, and West Bay South. So the 4 in West Bay, that's going to encompass all the districts. Newlands Electoral District, Savannah District, and then the Borden Town West and the Borden Town East, as well as the supermarkets, Foster's Countryside and Republics, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And, of course, in person at the Elections Office from 10 to 3. So they're doing, I think, a fantastic job of trying to be available. Let's see what we can do in that vein as well. 949-8037, 949-6990. We have a chance to take another call or two. Let's go to our phones. Good afternoon. Welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Good afternoon, Dwayne.
Welcome back again, man.
Yes, I just want to, I'm not here to respond to Mr. Mario. I'm saying he have the freedom, of course, to say his opinion. And what he said is his opinion, and he is free to express his opinion as I am free to express mine. But here I want to comment really in this call in the meeting yesterday in West Bay with the Commissioner of Police.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we are all, as everyone in this island, see yesterday that the Commissioner of Police did promise a meeting with Mr. Adam and a meeting with the American person who commit all these offenses against his neighbor, his peaceful neighbor, Mr. Adam. And I hope, this issue solved peacefully and nicely, because you can see, Dwayne, the anger, especially in West Bay, and the upset people in West Bay. And we hope all of this, we waiting and seeing if really the commissioner serious about solving this issue. Of course, we will come to the media and thank him publicly. And the first step was right. He called in to meet with both sides and tries to solve this issue peacefully, and this is something respectable. We respect that, and we hope it's solved the right way by giving Mr. Adam his right, and that road should be open, and people, our neighbors, should live peaceful and nice together. Not, somebody come to from America to Cayman and behave like that. That's a disgrace. And I don't think people in America will tolerate for a neighbor to behave that way so much. 3 years, Mr. Adam being patient and being nice and kind. And the man, you can't describe how much Mr. Adam is a nice man.
Mm-hmm.
But, patience have limit. And this neighbor need to understand there is anger and upset in this community. And you can't live in a country and survive if you upset the people of this country, because most of Caymanians are related to each other. And they have family member or cousins, or they married from each other, or this is a small village. And he needs to learn a lesson that you can't be behaving that way in Cayman. And you have to, say your opinion in Cayman. People will allow you and respect you for saying your opinion. Maybe some will disagree with you. But you can't behave in the society treating your neighbor uncivilized, making your kids throwing stones. I am calling in the Department of Children to take those children from him, because he can't be raising children to throwing stone. That's a crime.
But I hear what you're sharing, but I think it's an issue. If I recall a press release from the police that said they're taking legal advice from the office of the DPP, and for now, in absence of a court order, they're going to stand by. So we'll see. But it's a bigger issue, as you shared, and we'll see where it takes us. Hey, thanks very much, though. Thanks for sharing that. And the caller has obviously illustrated some of the stickier issues in our society. How are we ensuring that laws are respected and things are enforced? As MLA Barnabas shared earlier, sometimes we don't have the level of enforcement. He didn't say specifically relating to litter, but as used as an example, or it may be activities in residential areas, as we share with him from some of our listeners, or it may be that we could use sometimes a little bit more of a humane, compassionate approach to certain things. But maybe the society is not fully aware of the challenges that all are facing. The working mother, for instance, or that household with limited funds, choosing between buying food and paying utilities. Now, if that is a real occurrence, and if it's only one person in our society, one family, are we willing to accept that as just the cost of progress? I would think that we would want to help all. Looking after our elderly and our youth should be a priority, but to ensure that we all have a chance to live, a safe, decent life in a secure, stable, again, safe society. A few minutes left of open line. If you place a call and Ms. Susan answers, she'll patch it through. We hear from you. 949-6990 or 949-8037 plus the toll-free line. Let's go to our phones. Hey, welcome. You're on Talk Today.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I'm from Bantown.
Okay. If you could, just for my benefit, please, if you're near the radio or have it on, just turn it off, because it's easier to hear you directly on the phone. If not, there'll be feedback and I won't be able to follow exactly. Thank you, though. Good afternoon again.
Hello?
Yes, Mom.
I hear what Bernie Bush was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
It's very injustice going on in the supermarket. My daughter is suffering through that.
Mm-hmm.
She told me the other day that she wish she could get another job to
Mm-hmm.
to earn more money because the other day they cut off her water. And I'm retired now and a widow, and I get something pension every month through my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to sacrifice what I get to help her out because she has a husband there. But I don't like to say the word. She living in abuse,
Mm-hmm.
condition. And the little boy need clothes for school. He's growing out fast, growing out everything, and she can't afford it. And I help her when I can. I was listening. What happening? A lot of foreigners taking over the island. Read between the lines. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Listening.
Hello?
Yeah, hello. Can you hear me? Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me? I can hear you.
And the woman you were talking to Tuesday, she was the one handle the financial affair to help others.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Does she have a phone number?
The phone number over at the NAU. I don't have that in front of me, but we can get it to you if you want before you hang up. Just Miss Susan will take your number, but it's at the Needs Assessment Unit, and I don't have it written down here in front of me as to what that number is exactly, and I didn't commit it to memory. But if you would, before you hang up, give Miss Susan your number. We'll get the number for the Needs Assessment Unit.
My number is 4.
Yeah, we don't want you to give it on air, just to respect your privacy. Miss Susan will take your number, and we will get the Needs Assessment Unit number for you and call it and give it to you. And only just, we still think Cayman is relatively a safe place, but you ought to err on the side of caution, not just because our broadcast can be international and people from anywhere can hear it, but just to avoid any potential, on sort of, scrupulous individuals maybe seeing an opportunity that unscrupulous mind would see that others of us wouldn't even think about. But if you are, aware, or you genuinely suspect that something in your neighborhood, maybe it's in one of the circles that you go in, it could be at church, it could be a colleague at work, it could be just something that you feel it doesn't look right. Maybe there is an element of abuse of some sort. It doesn't have to be physical. It may be that financially they seem to be struggling. If you can bring it to the attention of some authority, the Department of Children and Family Services are there. Maybe go and be a good steward, be a good neighbor, your brother's keeper, and say, listen, I think this is what it looks like. Is there a way that you can do it? We want to make sure people are cared for, are safe. Likewise, if you are consciously aware of a lot of things, it's challenging. It's challenging. So please go right out and be the very best. Ms. Susan, thank her so much. The number publicly, if the Needs Assessment Unit doesn't mind, for the Needs Assessment Unit is 946-0024. If that caller is listening, if someone can pass it along, Needs Assessment Unit 946-0024. Well, want you to have an excellent, safe, and productive weekend. Enjoy the rest of this Friday. Looking forward to our discussions on Monday. It is our monthly Mental Health Matters. We're going to be talking about, emotional intelligence, the EQ, the component of IQ. Now join Mr. Orrit on Monday, for the record, and be a part of his discussion. Come back for Talk Today right after the midday news. Oh, Not quite sure if you have a lot going on this weekend, but be aware that the volunteers and staff at the elections office will be doing their verification process in Bordentown, East and West, in Savannah, in Newlands, and all of the 4 aspects of West Bay, plus at 2 of the supermarkets, Foster's, Savannah, Countryside, and the Republic's one. Now, their offices are open 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. right there on Smith Road. If you can go and get your signature verified, sign the petition. It doesn't mean that you're for or against. I'm certainly not going to assume that you are. I just believe that, like me, you want to be a part of not just a historical referendum process, but you want to be in a healthy democracy. And thanks to all of you who continue to make this society that very, very wonderful place. So if we could follow the words of an invitation of MLA Burnabush, all of us who live and work here, or whether we can trace our ancestral roots back for generations, whether we're recently part of the fold, if this is where we call home or want to call it home, see if we can step up hand in hand to make this a better place. It's good, but it can be better. It's safe, but it can be safer. It's a place that we would like to be able to live and know that we can move about our communities in a safe way. You can disagree respectfully, but we can also work hand in hand to make sure people are healthy, are safe, are productive, and engaged. Until Monday, be blessed.